The FIA found itself in a very difficult position after the Japanese GP, where Bearman had a 50G crash caused primarily by the nature of the 2026 regulations. The drivers are angry and have all issued statements towards the governing body, as it seems like the FIA is finally ready to take some actions in the following period. But will this be the first move in the right direction? And more importantly, did the FIA understand the hard way that the 50-50 split between the ICE and the battery is just not it? One dark mark from the 2026 Suzuka GP is the Ollie Bearman crash, one that likely wouldn't have happened in any of the previous regulations of this sport. As he was approaching Colapinto at the Spoon Corner, Bearman lost control over his car due to a dramatic speed difference between him and Franco. Having to recharge his battery, Franco slowed down massively, and that forced Bearman to take evasive action. And of course, neither Ollie nor Haas put the blame on the Argentinian driver. It's just the way it is with these modern-day cars. And that is where it all goes wrong. We don't want to see this type of racing. As a matter of fact, we and the drivers are already growing tired of this nonsense. This is just not racing. And there were warning signs that a crash like this would have happened, according to Carlos Sainz, who was outspoken on the matter and was perceived as a non-based critic. Still, the Spaniard believes that for the sake of the fans, everything will pass through the FIA, even if it means that you don't get to have nearly the same excitement from racing as an F1 driver. Elaborating further on this, Sainz said, "These kinds of closing speeds and these kinds of accidents were always going to happen, and I am not very happy with what we've had up until now, and hopefully we come up with a better solution that doesn't create these massive closing speeds and a safer way of going racing." And the problem is that the FIA had a perception that this problem would only persist during qualifying, but after the Japanese GP, we've seen that the vocality of drivers like Sainz, Verstappen, Norris and Hamilton paid off. I mean, when you go flat out at 130R in Suzuka and you lose 50 km per hour, then I guess you need to ask yourself whether this is the type of racing you want to see in the foreseeable future. And that's actually the safe part of what's wrong with these regulations. The dangerous one is what we've seen with Ocon and Colapinto. Again, who else but Verstappen to talk about this with a critique-oriented note? The four-time world champion said loud and clear that the regulations are pushing him slowly but surely towards retirement, and he's going to seek comfort in other series, like GT3. However, he explained properly as to what's essentially wrong with the 2026 regulations and the ultimate paradox of being slower by going faster. Talking about it to a greater extent, Verstappen said, "In qualifying, you don't want to have this kind of lifting style. And there are a lot of other rules. It's not only about lifting, there are many other rules where you can't go flat. You have to lift or not, like being close to flat and then putting in a lift. It's also confusing, and that's not how it should be. In qualifying to go faster, you basically need to go slower. It's just not how it should be." There is a bit of good news that I'd like to mention here. The FIA has finally heard the voices of the drivers, and they are going to implement changes from Miami onwards. We're headed to an unplanned 5-week break because of the absence of Jeddah and Bahrain, and the governing body understood the issues that are lying in front of them. Therefore, a statement was issued as the FIA finally accepted that they might be in the wrong with the modern regulations. But at the end of the day, this just opens up tons of other rather controversial questions as well. For starters, why didn't they listen to their drivers in the first place? And is it now a bit too late to see what's wrong and what's going to work, considering the fact that until 2031, we are locked in with these regulations? Step by step, lads, we're slowly but surely getting there. When explaining about the Bearman's incident with Colapinto and how it made them take some serious actions, the FIA wrote, "Following the accident involving Bearman at the Japanese GP and the contribution of high closing speeds in the accident, the FIA would like to provide the following clarifications. It has been the consistent position of all the stakeholders that a structured review would take place after the opening phase of the season to allow for sufficient data to be gathered and analysed. A number of meetings are therefore scheduled in April to assess the operation of the new regulations and to determine whether any refinements are required. A factor that helped Bearman a lot in this crash was that we were, after all, in a traditional circuit like Suzuka. Sainz emphasized the importance of the track in terms of the damage sustained. Imagine having a 50G crash in Vegas or in Baku, where there are long straights and the closing speeds could play a massive role in how the driver from behind is going to react to it. And again, the FIA admitting that they were in the wrong is showing us that the retirement threats from Verstappen might not be based on the fact he isn't winning races. He has been criticizing this era since 2023 and since he tried it out in the simulator. So, if I'm being honest with you, there is no point in pushing the narrative of Max being a crybaby because he isn't at the front. Even the Mercedes drivers would be talking about this had their engine/battery package not been as dominant as it is right now. The primary thing that needs to change here is how the FIA is viewing the voice of the drivers. If we are to judge by what we've seen so far, it seems like they don't actually care that much about how the drivers feel. It's rather about what the fans and the stakeholders enjoy. And they enjoy overtaking, even when it's in this bizarre and rather miserable way of just passing someone on the one straight and getting passed on the second because your battery is drained out. And that's what Lewis Hamilton feels as well. The drivers have no vote in what's happening with the regulations. And even though they should be the moving force of any changes, that doesn't seem to be the case. When talking about the upcoming changes ahead of the Miami GP, a race that his team is looking forward to because of the wing upgrades, Hamilton said, "The drivers don't have a say. We have no power. We're not on the committee. We have no voting rights." And it's not just Hamilton with this opinion. Lando Norris was asked after the Suzuka GP in terms of what needs to change in terms of the regulations before the Miami GP. His response was harsh and brought him to the brink of penalty. It doesn't matter what we say, we aren't going to be listened to anyways. When the reporter tried to talk some sense into him and say that the driver's opinion matters as well, Norris said, "Clearly not." This is something that Sainz doubled down on, saying that the crash of Bearman is a result of F1 and the FOM listening only to the teams and not the driver. From their standpoint, when you're racing each other and you realize there could be a 50 km/h speed delta, it's not racing at all. The hope is now that the FIA will finally listen to the drivers' feedback, because at the end of the day, it's not just one or two drivers who aren't enjoying this championship. It's multiple seasoned and experienced competitors who could be forced into early retirement and make F1 look like a laughingstock, exactly how it is right now. With Verstappen threatening to retire quickly and looking to other championships already, and with drivers like Norris and Hamilton pointing out that the drivers have no say in where this sport is going to move, the question remains, will the changes by the FIA actually satisfy the drivers? And more importantly, will it revolve around their feedback? Let us know in the comments below.